I am so happy to have Kat Shepherd or Kathleen Shepherd from Tote here on the show today. Kat, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really excited to share more.
Fantastic. I want to start out by getting to know you a little bit. I had to restrain myself off camera from doing so. So I would like to know a bit about your background. And as I mentioned to you, we can talk professionally, personally. You can just let me know a little bit about who Kat is and I guess a little bit about what Tote is as well.
Yeah, so I'm Kat or Kathleen. I honestly, people are like, which do you prefer? I go back and forth, so it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
But I'm based in Los Angeles and I'm the founder of Tote, and we are building a social style companion that learns from your personal style, your existing wardrobe, and your community to give you better styling and shopping recommendations. So I guess like a little bit about Tote, we have the hypothesis that shopping and styling is incredibly social in its core, and that currently the way that people are inspired and seeking, I guess, ideas or trying to discover whether it's new styles or new brands, comes from this form that feels a little bit impersonal. Although, like in
Mm,
real life, it's extremely personal. Like you're seeing someone on the street or like a friend and asking for recommendations, but we feel that on a digital from the digital presence standpoint that there's not necessarily an equivalent to that. So we're trying to replicate that experience of like, seeing someone's dress that you love and going up and asking them where it's from, but not necessarily from like an influencer perspective where it's like on, traditional social media platforms, it's very like one to many versus like many to many, where we want people to feel that their style is represented and that they can still be an individual and maybe not a copy paste of, the same thing that millions of people are wearing. So that's kind of like the background. We're a mobile first app right now. We're available in the US App Store, but working on our web platform, which should be launching in the next couple of weeks, which is very exciting, which means it will be available internationally and across different devices as well. But essentially, the goal is really to get people to share their outfits and their wardrobe on a regular basis in order to connect with other people who might have similar style to them, to power those smart AI recommendations that come from our AI style agent, which is called Toto. So Toto fetches recommendations. You get the idea. For the Clueless reference, I think everyone has either seen the movie or has some reference to Cher's closet in the movie, where she basically is being styled by this like digital robot that's connected to her closet. And it always gets referred to because it's 2025 now, and we still don't have a version of that really is seamless and works well. And obviously, that was like, made in the 90s and was like a totally different era. But I think the foresight of being able to like style yourself in that more like easy manner has always been seen as a luxury, but we're finally at the place with technology that it's actually something that's possible now. So that's definitely a huge element of our app. We have, like an AI stylist that puts outfits together from your real wardrobe. We're allowing people to create mood boards using technology and AI, again, from your existing wardrobe or from inspiration. So there's a lot of like parallels there. But
mm.
I think when we start to explain what Tote is, the first thing that people say is like, oh, wait, so it's like Clueless Closet mixed with like Pinterest, mixed with like your friend's group chat. And we're like, yes, you nailed it. That's basically exactly what we're building. So.
No, it's so cool and it's the blueprint, but it's so much more than that. Obviously, it's
Totally.
2025. You've had so many more ideas. You've made it very relevant to the moment now, which
Yeah,
is why I think it's such an exciting app probably to build and hopefully
yeah,
to have once it comes onto my app
totally.
store.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, I mean, I'm building it for myself. Like, I am the target demographic. I've been waiting for something like this to come along. And obviously, there have been many versions of it. But I think the itch that it has not scratched is like that almost like community element where it
Mm.
feels like a lot of the existing digital closets, you're kind of in your own silo. Honestly, it feels like a lot of work to like add stuff. And then once you do add stuff, you're kind of like, okay, what do I do now? So our goal is like obviously having that smart element to make it feel like this is adding value versus like
Mm.
taking a bunch of your time away from you, which has been a challenge, I think, for a lot of like fashion tech companies prior to this AI boom. So
Yeah, definitely. And is your background in technology? I'm guessing because you have a technical co-founder, I'm wondering if you're both as such, or do you have a different skill set? Because we talked about Tote, but we didn't talk about you. So
yeah.
what's your background, your education, or what you were interested in? How did you come to founding Tote?
I have a business background. My co-founder is technical, so he is definitely like the coding and the back end brains of the operation.
Yeah.
But for me, I went to Babson College, which is totally centered around entrepreneurship and startups, innovation. And it is a business only school. So that's where I went for undergrad. It's outside of Boston. And that kind of kickstarted my interest in like starting something of my own. And I think I've always been entrepreneurial, and I know that's like a cliche thing to say, like a lot of startup founders say that, but it's true. And I think going into college, I never knew what I was going to do after. So the school I went to outside of Boston, and it really like challenged me to think outside of the box when it came to like what my like life and career was going to be. But I did study marketing and entrepreneurship simultaneously. So after I graduated, I started my career, like corporate career in paid media and marketing.
Mm.
I worked for advertising agencies and basically like got my skill set across a bunch of different channels. And at the time, I remember like when I started my first job, I was like, this is not for me. I'm not going to stay in this desk. Like, this isn't going to be my career path. But looking back on it, I'm so grateful for having those jobs and like having my start to my career in that more traditional manner, because it gave me a lot of structure in the sense that like I know how like much bigger corporations work, either like the agency or all of the clients that we worked for. And in my first job, we worked for a lot of like luxury, um, fashion, accessory, beauty, skincare companies, which was like
Mm.
also so rare and niche. So the fact that that was like what I stumbled upon for my first job was really awesome. And that gave me a lot of insights into the space. So I built my skill set in like the paid media, marketing, organic, social arena from like a corporate standpoint, which definitely helped me to not only understand the space, but also that's what allowed me to then transition from corporate to freelancing and doing consulting work, which also allowed me to like do startups while I was simultaneously working.
Hmm.
But when I first started my early career, while I was still in corporate, I started a sustainable swim and activewear brand. So that was right out of college. I was very fresh faced and naive in a lot of ways, but I think because of the timing of that and just like not really knowing what was ahead of me, not really having a plan with it, actually enjoying it and having like fun with it,
Yeah.
it allowed me to do that without like the fear of it failing or not knowing what was going to happen next. And so like being early recent grad, I kind of just like went for it and didn't have much to lose at that point. Again, and I was just starting my career, so I had a lot of time. Like I was flexible with how I could work my hours. I was young, so I was working in the evenings, that sort of thing. But I
Yeah.
launched the brand about a year after I graduated and ran it for almost 4 years while I was simultaneously working. And that
Wow.
really was like the impetus of Tote and like what got me into the space because um, I think realistically, I loved the problems that I was solving as a brand owner. And because we had a sustainability focus, a lot of what we were working on was, and I say we a lot, but it was just myself. Like I worked on the brand alone.
Hmm.
But I was really focused on like conscious consumerism, how people can shift the way that they shop, who they support from a brand perspective, resale, like all of those kind of pillars of sustainable fashion. And from my POV as a brand owner, I was solving that at the time through product and like my messaging and my marketing. And it just didn't feel like that was like the right solution for how I wanted to like solve the problem or like share my messaging. And so it got me thinking about, okay, how would I solve this problem or like help other brands to solve this problem if I had like a magic wand essentially? And so that's where the ideation around Tote started coming up. And I was doing a ton of market research to actually pivot the brand initially or to build a tech product that could be a layer on top of the brand. And then as I started exploring, researching, talking to engineers, I realized that this was like its completely own endeavor and that it would take all of my time. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where the decision to move away from the brand and into fashion tech started. But the ultimate goal was being able to create a space where brands could be discovered. As a brand owner, I found that all of my most loyal customers came from word of mouth, from like another customer who referred them. And it always felt like a community web that was being created. And that's how people found us and stuck around. And for
Yeah.
me, I didn't have the resources to scale that. I didn't have, influencer budget or paid media budget. And especially coming from that background, I knew how much capital that would take to like really make an impact with that. And I even like, tried my hand at paid marketing and influencer and whatnot when I had the brand, and it just like did not go anywhere. It felt like a total waste of money. And I think people are so quick to say like, oh, well, why don't you try this, 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 and this? But like when it comes down to it, like cash is totally king in those situations. And like if there's a better way to more authentically get customers, like brand owners should do that every time. But ultimately, that's not a quick or scalable way to grow a brand. And obviously, there are thousands and thousands of brands that exist that just don't have the resources to reach the right people. Meanwhile, these giant corporations are getting in front of their customer, and that's the easiest route for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
basically trying to figure out, okay, like how can we create this word of mouth system in a digital format? And then the flip side of that was that brands wanted to understand their customer better, and they wanted to market to people who they knew that they were in the price range of, or that they were shopping for that specific item, whatever that might be. And so I kind of was like, okay, we need to create a platform that connects all of these dots to not only benefit the customer and like the discovery process and all of that, but to benefit the small brands that are trying to compete with these big players. Because like ultimately the customers want to find the cool emerging brand, and the cool emerging brand wants to be put in front of the right customer. So
Yeah.
long story short, it just was like a lot of the thought process around, okay, like how, in theory, if we zoom out, can I help to shift how people shop and think about shopping? And it ultimately came down to, okay, it's not going to be me creating a product, it'll be me creating a solution for many people who are passionate about creating their products and getting those into the right hands, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And I am totally one of those people who does not want to buy from big corporations. I just want to
Right.
buy from someone local. And you probably didn't set out to be sustainable. Maybe you did because I know you had your other brand, but it just ties so well into sustainability, and it does so without like pushing it into your face in a way, because I think that's one of the problems that fashion has, is like you maybe get put in a cage of like, we are sustainable this, but every brand or every company in fashion ideally should be working towards sustainability if they can, in an embedded way. Kat, I want to ask you, looking back on the last, I guess, year, I'd say, if you were to go back and start again, what advice would you give yourself? I'm thinking of the person who is like you, who maybe has a vision, maybe they're looking for a team, maybe they want to do something by themselves. What would you say to yourself?
Yeah, I think finding the right partners is incredibly important. And as someone who previously owned my brand alone and did a lot of things by myself, when I moved into the fashion tech space, I think I kind of thought that I would be able to do the same thing. And obviously, there are so many challenges as a brand owner, and it is extremely hard logistically. And there's so many things that you just can't control. But from a tech perspective, there are just like so many skill sets that you actually don't have. And it takes, years of expertise to get, that felt a little bit different than like, scrappy learning the fashion space. And I mean, I still don't know everything about building a brand from that perspective, but at least I could, figure it out as I went. Versus, since meeting my co-founder and working together, our partnership has been the only reason why we're both standing here. And I think the credit that we give to one another is really important too. Like we know that, for him, without the brand building and the marketing, the community, like all of those elements, he probably wouldn't have this version of Tote, that exists. And then for me, like if I didn't have that technical expertise, there would be 0% chance that Tote would be existing the way it does today. So super grateful for that. And I think also because we've built this really strong team at an early stage, we've been able to accomplish so much, kind of just like on a dream and like people dreaming with us, which is just, again, so incredibly lucky and like serendipitous in a lot of ways. So, I mean, a year ago from now, we didn't have our team and we were figuring out our contractor dynamics and hiring. And I think we were so quick to just move and like try to find like anyone to do the thing that we needed, whether it
Yeah.
was code or development or design. And looking back on that, obviously I'm glad, like I wouldn't change how things evolved because then we probably wouldn't have the team members that we have now. But at the time, it just felt like speed was the most important thing. But ultimately, it's who you're bringing in and how you're supporting them, how they're supporting you, and the longevity and the quality of the relationship. And like, in the past 3 months or 4 months, we've done more than we did in the year before that. So
Wow.
it really is a testament to everyone's skill set, their commitment level, and just like the trust that we have with one another.
Super, super good advice. I think anybody who sees you on social media and looks at Toad can really be impressed. And also, I guess it's really nice that you show the journey because it's really not easy. I think it's very difficult to build uh, actually anything in fashion these days, a brand, an app, a publication, because there's so much going on. There's so much disruption. There's so much to do with the economy. There's so much going on in positive ways, but also negative ways. And it's just like sometimes about survival. But I want to know what's upcoming for Tote. What can we look forward to in the next few months? Tell me everything.
Yeah. So, from an app perspective, would love for people to check out the app and share any feedback. Obviously, it's currently based in the US, but we will have the web version soon. So, we'll share the link to all of that. But we have some really fun social features that we're launching soon as well. A lot of like collaboration with friend groups. Like, think, you're going on a trip with a bunch of friends and being able to get inspiration from one another and share packing lists and things like that. So that's really exciting. And we're just having a really big focus on building our community right now. So we just had a big SF event. We had like over 500 RSVPs for that, which was incredible. And before that, we had a big New York event, similar size. And it's just been awesome to connect with all of our potential users and users in person, as well as just like community members, brand owners, other founders, investors, you name it. It's just like a big hodgepodge of people. And honestly, people who just like love tech or love fashion tech. So that's been really awesome. And we have a few events upcoming in SF and LA, and probably more down the pipeline in New York as well. But we'll be hosting during LA and SF Tech Week, which is the first 2 weeks of October. So keep an
Cool.
eye out for that. And I'm happy to share the RSVP links for you to share too.
That would be fantastic. Oh, I wish I could go to an event. I should just move to America.
We're in a great hub for it, but obviously follow along digitally on our TikTok or Instagram. Everything is like some version of Tote app, and we're a blue logo, so you can find us there in the App Store if you're in the US, and online at toteapp.io. So
Perfect. Kat, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I can't wait to see what happens with Tote, and we'll be keeping an eye on you and rooting for you all the way.
thank you so much.